Welcome back, everyone. So today I'm going to finish off my Rocky reviews with Creed because Creed 2 just came out this week, and I'm going to watch it tonight. So I'm so excited. Creed is just one of those sequels that I don't know how they did it, but like this is a spin-off movie about Adonis Creed, Apollo Creed's son, who grows up and is played by Michael B. Jordan, and he wants to be a boxer. He wants to be the best, kind of like Rocky. So I love the fact that this spin-off movie is about Adonis Creed being trained by Rocky, and everything about this movie works incredibly well for a Rocky movie and for a movie. It's just really, like, it does these tropes so well with what the Rocky franchise has been. And I do love most of the Rocky movies, but God, like, this one just is one of my absolute favorite movies out of all of them. I think if I'd rank it, it's my second favorite after the first one, like the first Rocky movie. Like, this is an incredible movie, and it's really genuinely moving. Genuinely, you love these characters, or I do at least. I love these characters. I love the performances. I love how it starts out with Adonis being a kid, like being a 9 or 10-year-old kid, and this woman named Maryann comes in who is married to Apollo, and she takes Adonis in, and like after seeing what kind of shape he's in, because he's been in foster homes, just he didn't have a father, like his father was gone, he was killed, so he's been transferred to all these different foster homes or special services locations. And I love this first scene between Maryann and the young Adonis, because he just looks at her and says, "Are you a social worker?" And she goes, "No, I'm not." And then she explains who she is, and it just gives a lot of heart to it in the first scene of like this woman who is not his mother, his real mother is not. That's not who it is. Like, she just was married to Apollo. She's still alive. She takes him in out of the goodness of her heart. Like, she sees how horrible of a condition Adonis is in, just dealing with, like, being in all these foster homes, beating people up, like, being in fights. She wants him to live a better life, so she takes him in, even though she's not his mother. Like, I love that. I love that how it starts out with that. That's a really good opening. And she explains who the father is, and I love that as well. Now, it flash forwards after that to when Adonis is older and he just wants to fight. He's young man wants to fight, and I love the fact that it keeps elaborating on how Maryann in the beginning of the movie like saw him in bad shape fighting with all these other kids. But then that's all he's wanted to do his whole life, is to fight like his father, but he wants to make a name for himself. And I can't help but feel for Adonis and feel so much of the struggle that he's going through. And I love how Maryann responds to him whenever she realizes he's fighting. And I love the performance of her is great, and the performance of Adonis is great in this scene as well. But I love the line where she realizes that he's fighting, and she says, "Do you know how many times I brought your father up these stairs? I dragged him up these stairs. You know how many times I wiped his ass because he couldn't do it with his hands?" Like, and then I like how she says to him, like, "I didn't take you in to like make you go backwards." Like, that's a really great moment and a really great performance from both of them in that scene, and it's really moving. And you feel so much to why Maryann doesn't want that to happen. And then she says, even in that scene, like, people die in the ring. Like, your father died. Like, he literally died in the ring. So you could see why she doesn't want him to do this. She doesn't want him to go in there because he could just end up dying like his father did. So I really love that connection between both of them, even though they're not related. They're not really at all. She just was married to Apollo. That's not her kid. But I love that. And despite that, Adonis just has this urge to fight, and then he goes to Philadelphia and goes and meets Rocky and explains to him like who he is and all that. And I love the fact that Rocky immediately says, "You're lying. Like, that's not true. You're lying." And then I love how Rocky, again, like Maryann, everybody is telling him not to do this. He says to him, why would you want to become the fighter when you don't have to? Paula would also tell you that. That's a great scene whenever they first meet, and he says that to Adonis, like, why would you want to willingly do this? Like, you could die like your father. And again, it's pushing on the fact that, like, Adonis wants this so bad, but the world doesn't. Like, he wants to fight. He wants to go out and fight. Like his father, make a name for himself, but everybody's against him in a way, even in a way of love, not in a way like they don't like him. They're caring for him and want him to live, and just not go down the same trail his father did. So I really love that as well. And then we get, like, he eventually convinces Rocky to train him, and I love the fact that Sylvester Stallone in this movie, if you thought that Rocky Balboa was just, like, I thought it was the perfect end for Rocky, even though this is fantastic in this as well. Man, his performance in this is incredible. Like, I'm so mad that in 2015 he didn't get the Best Supporting Actor in the Oscars. I was like, come on, that is unfair, because he was so damn good in this movie. That scene where he goes to Adrian's grave, and now Paulie's grave. Paulie's dead after Rocky Balboa. He's gone too. And that scene of him just, like, he puts a thing of whiskey on Paulie's grave and then a flower on Adrian's. Like, I thought that was funny. But, man, just, he barely does anything in that scene, but you feel so much for his character. Like, he just sits there in this chair, talks to both of the graves and tells them the daily news. And I choke up because it's just so sad, and it's actually really, really moving. It gets me. I'm like, damn, that's just hard to watch, because his performance is so good in this movie. And I also love these other new characters. Like, I love Bianca, Tessa Thompson, who is wonderful. Like, I really love Tessa Thompson. She's so great in everything that I've seen her in. Like Thor Ragnarok or Sorry to Bother You. She's great. And I love her in this as well. She is a great, I don't want to say romantic interest. Like, I don't want to say that because that sounds like an insult to her. She's great as the person that, like, he's friends, Adonis is friends with her. And it's a romantic thing, yes, but I don't know, I feel like that's kind of insulting to just say, oh, she's just the romantic interest. I feel like she's more than that. She's great. I love that you feel so much for her and care so much for her too, because you realize that she is going deaf eventually, and she's just waiting for it to happen. She's learning sign language. She's doing everything to prepare, and I love how it really makes you care so much for her, like Adonis. Like, you care for all these characters in a different way. Like, you care for Maryann because she wants to see her son be alright, like her son be alright. And Rocky, you just care about how he is struggling with training this kid who is Apollo's kid. And then with how Bianca is, like, she's going deaf, so, like, you feel bad for her. And, like, her and Adonis have great chemistry. They really do have really great, like, they have great conversations that are really funny. And they feel real. I really like their performances together a lot. And I love how whenever you realize what her profession is, she's a singer, and he asks, what makes you want to sing, or what made you want to sing? And she just says, it makes me feel alive. And, like, that's all you need to feel more for this character, because you really did understand, like, everything about these characters, and they're just so likable and really have great chemistry. And I like how Rocky starts training Adonis, and he does a lot of Mickey's old techniques, like he has him chase the chickens. I think that's awesome. And it's pretty much it's a lot of training like the other movies. And I want to talk about the villain. The villain, Pretty Ricky, to me, is like Mason Dixon in a way, where it's not the actor's fault. The actor isn't bad at all. It's just, I don't know, like, he's kind of forgettable. Like, it's not like you care enough, or you don't get enough with the villain, but you have to get enough time with the hero, though. So I don't know what, like, it's not a bad thing at all. Like, I don't dislike Pretty Ricky Conlon, but, like, he's just not as, he's not memorable like Drago was, or like Apollo was, or Clubber Lang was, like, or even from Five, like, Tommy Gunn. Like, it's, I don't even like Tommy Gunn, but he's more memorable. Like, it's Rocky Balboa and Creed have kind of that thing where, like, these villains are kind of just forgettable because they're played more serious, they're played more straight. So it's not the actor's fault. It's just they're not very memorable, for me personally. And I love the fact that as they start training to fight Pretty Ricky Conlon, Rocky gets really sick and gets cancer, or has cancer, and they're trying to do chemotherapy. Rocky denies it, like, not do it, and then Adonis realizes it and has him do it, and they train, both of them train at the same time. Rocky is being medicated and prepared for this, while Adonis is being prepared for the fight. And I love that montage. That's a fantastic montage. One of the coolest montages in the franchise, where he's tending to Rocky. Rocky is helping him. Adonis is just running down the street like Rocky does in all the other movies. But, like, this one is cool because there's these guys around with motorcycles, and, like, he's running down a different area. And I just think it's a very visually cool scene. Cinematography is great in this as well. And I love that moment where how Rocky and Adonis are training each other, and I love how they have this moment where, like, Rocky still is talking to him like, do you want to do this, like he says to him about his life. And again, because Sylvester Stallone is such a fucking good actor, like, this chokes me up, where the line where he's talking about, if I could spend one more day with my wife, I would take everything away just to do that and be happy and move on. And everything that I got is gone, and I'm still here. And it's just so good with this performance. It's so moving. I love that moment. Again, Sylvester Stallone should have won Best Supporting Actor. It was so good. And I love how whenever Rocky eventually does, like, whenever the fight's going to happen with Pretty Ricky Conlon, he tells Adonis, like, don't do this for me or your father, just do it for you. And that shows how much Rocky changed in the movie too, on not wanting to train Adonis, but realizing how much he wants to do this. He wants to fight. He wants to take a name for himself. And the final fight is good, really good, but it's like 6, like Rocky Balboa, where it's just it's more realistic. So it looks good. It looks fine. It looks like you're watching a boxing show on TV, which I'm fine with. And the fight is really good. It's pretty long. I like how there's that slow-mo moment where Adonis gets punched, decked in the face, falls down in slow-mo. And it's like Rocky Balboa, where Rocky sees all these memories, and he gets up because of that. In this one, Adonis does the same thing, where he falls down, sees all these memories of everything in his life, and then it pushes him to get up. It keeps him going. And I love that moment where he gets back up. And I love how, like, Adonis makes it to the fight. Like, he makes it to this fight to fight this guy that he just wants to be somebody. And I love how he said before the match, like, he wants to just show that he's not a mistake to the world. And again, like, I just thought that made Adonis even more of a character that you care for. And I love how, like the first Rocky movie, he loses. Because it's only his first match, too. Like, he hasn't fought anybody else. It's only his first match. Realistically, he probably would have lost, even though he trained a lot. So I really did like that he lost again. Or that Adonis lost like Rocky did in the first one. Or in Rocky Balboa. But I really thought, despite him losing, like, again, he made it that far. Like, he made it to where he wanted to be. Despite not winning, he still made it. I like how him and Pretty Ricky Conlon have, like, a agreement at the end. Like, they're not enemies. They just they gave each other peace. And then I love the final scene of the movie where Rocky and Adonis go up the stairs, the famous stairs from all the movies. And I love how it's just that moment of them looking out, and they just say, if you look hard enough, you could see your whole life from here. How's it looking? And then they just say could, and like it ends that way, and I'm like, that was perfect, a perfect way to end it. I felt like the ending of this is fantastic. I think the whole movie is incredible. I think it's between this and the first Rocky that rewatching this is my second favorite. And I haven't seen Creed 2 yet, but I'm curious to see if it'll beat this one, because this one was incredible. Performances were incredible, and then like Sylvester Stallone is so moving in this movie, and the build up to the fight is great. The fight is great as well. These new characters are great. I love how this is a spin-off in a way, even though it's got Rocky, but it's still as memorable and still as interesting. And they do all these tropes like all the other Rocky movies, but they work incredibly well, and they're so memorable. The cinematography is incredible too. Everything about this movie just blows me away. It's one of my favorite movies of 2015. I love the hell out of this movie, and rewatching it, man, it just, again, really shows how great of a movie it is, rewatching it again. So, my Rocky series is over, except for Creed 2, and then I'll do a ranking on the Rocky franchise, including Creed 2. So thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for my Creed 2 review.